bluffgawd. BLUFF_GAWD. Look him up. One of Kanye's close friends.
I want to watch this video, the Frank Ocean domino effect. See what they're talking about.
This is what it did to the music industry.
There's not a more fragile industry than music.
One move and everything can be disrupted. In my whole life, I feel like it's existed in this we've never been so back, it's so over roller coaster ride. And currently, we're here. AI, mass layoffs, consolidation, nepotism, hits that come and go, and a lack of investment in new superstars.
It's over, bro. It's over. Get on YouTube. It's over. It's done.
Stars to lead the next generation. Some say it's the quality of music or blame social media, but I think there's
Get on YouTube. Make music with your friends. It's done.
much more to it than that. And the deeper I look, the more this one moment replays in my mind. And not just because it's been on a constant loop since 2016.
And it's been done, guys. It's been done ever since. You know, there was people who would always talk about streaming farms and all this and that. The first people I really heard expose it was CMP and MG on Spicy Sundays. Y'all need to bring that back. Quit playing. And then J. Cole talked about it on the song. The fucking a lot. How many rappers get they stream from machines? You know? A lot, dude. And you see it because after that song, literally after that song, bro, everyone's sales just dropped. You know what I mean? Because they were like, oh, we're not using machines. And this is a fun fact, dude. Speaking of Frank Ocean, Odd Future affiliate, Tyler is like the only artist who whose last album, Call Me If You Get Lost, sold more than Igor. You know what I mean? Any other artists, I think every other artist, like, their last album sold less than the one before that. You know, everyone's on a decline. Tyler's on a fucking incline. You know what I mean? So shout outs to him, bro.
Promise I'm okay. But because it completely changed everything. The release of Frank Ocean's Blonde exclusively on Apple Music sent a signal to artists that the power had shifted, and the gatekeepers of the past no longer held the keys to the kingdom. The domino that was Blonde set off a chain reaction that I believe helps explain a lot of the music industry's current mysteries, like why are new superstars so rare, the music industry's relationship to AI, why all these artists are dropping on Instagram now, and whether or not the music industry we once knew is dead.
Yeah, it's done.
Way, I think it all connects back to this. So to explain the mess, I think we have to break down the domino that fell to create it in the first place. Because how did no one in the industry see this coming? I mean, it was all there, even in his name.
What you know about rolling down in the deep when your brain...
Oh my god.
Frank Ocean's one of modern music's...
I hate that song, dude. I look like that fucking...
themes he interweaves.
I look like that dude, bruh. Masked Wolf, right? Look at that. We're like twins, dog. We're like fucking twins. He's from fucking Australia. Australian rapper. God damn, bro. Give me my face back, bro.
Throughout his music, but also from the actual real-life revenge tale he was plotting on the industry. From Christopher Brew to Lonnie Brew to Odd Future and Frank Ocean. Because that story isn't just Frank Ocean finessed the label out of $20 million. This was a 7-year game of chess that he was playing with Universal Music Group. So let's start then in 2000.
Insane.
After moving
Insane.
He was able to quickly make a name for himself.
The balls you gotta have, bro. Insane.
Within the industry as a songwriter, writing tracks for Beyonce, Justin Bieber, John Legend, and Brandy, and caught the attention of the legendary Tricky Stewart, who helped him secure a deal at Def Jam, an imprint of Universal Music.
You know who else was working with him back then? Was one Quentin Miller. I heard that in like different stories that people tell, is that like Quentin Miller and Frank definitely bumped into each other around those times.
group. And then...
I think they were signed to the same label or under the same management or some bullshit.
Lonnie Brew became a shelved artist on the Def Jam roster with no label support or future. But it's around this time when he's introduced
Big
to
Mad
Creator and the rest of Odd Future, who actually bring him in as one of their own. And in his exposure to the Tyler and the Odd Future movement, as he was sitting as a shelved artist, Lonnie Brew was inspired more than ever before and decided to take matters into his own hands, ditching the name Lonnie Brew and creating music under a new moniker, one that he could use to operate in secret without his label knowing, Frank Ocean. The name was an homage to Frank Sinatra and the...
Oh wow, so he's been on bullshit since the beginning, bro. He's been on that bullshit, like hiding shit from the label and shit. I like that. I fuck with that.
Film Ocean's 11, in which Frank Sinatra played Danny Ocean. The mastermind puts together a team to pull off an elaborate casino heist on New Year's Eve. And remember that for later. Long story short, Frank drops Nostalgia Ultra for free on his Tumblr page in February of 2011, and it is an instant sensation and immediately grabs the attention of all the major labels, including Def Jam and Universal. Now,
I love that beat. I love the fucking electric feel beat, bro. That's one of the hardest. Oh my fucking god, dude. Let's watch the video, bro.
Being in the Frank Ocean business, and then realize, oh shit, he's already signed here. In deleted tweets, Frank made sure to let the world know that he did this entirely on his own, and it's Def Jam for leading him on, to paraphrase. A moment now in retrospect that seems like the catalyst of what was to come later. But
yeah, respect.
Aside, Def Jam doesn't really care and ponies up the money for Frank to record his debut album, Channel Orange. The album arrives a year and a half later to critical acclaim, a Grammy, world tour, and a bunch of now out of character public appearances and interviews. Frank Ocean was now a star, and everyone was asking, what's next? And the answer was nothing. Pretty much near silence for years, aside from the occasional post or appearance or feature on a Kanye West album. For some reason, he just always was showing up there. But it was during this time that Frank was making
for some reason.
Silence that
for some reason.
Major ramifications on the future of the industry. He fired his team and hired a new manager and publicist, convinced the label with his newly minted A-list status to give him a $2 million advance for his next album, agreed to making that album, like many others at the time, an Apple Music exclusive, and finally the opportunity to buy not only his master recordings, but himself.
Y'all remember when Chance the Rapper was saying that he was independent, but like his best friends were like Jay-Z and Beyonce, and he had like an exclusive deal with and his other best friend was Kanye, and he had an exclusive deal with Apple Music for his fucking mixtape. Those were fun times, dude. Yo, that's when everyone was just lying about everything, bro. That shit was insane. Like, looking back, holy shit.
Out of his Def Jam contract once the album released. This, as you might expect, took years to sort out, and in that time was creating unfathomable amounts of hype surrounding the album. Every day the album didn't come, the more leverage Frank was gaining. And when the business finally settled, Frank Ocean's sophomore album, Endless, released exclusively on Apple Music, a black and white visual album that could only be played from start to finish, with no potential for a radio record or...
You know what's fucked up with this record? I never heard Endless, but and I should have done this, but dude, some dude offered me like either like the CD or the vinyl of it for some beats, and I didn't do it. I should have fucking did it. I kind of regret not doing it.
Or a hit, because it was pretty inaccessible for a Joe Schmo. And that was it. That was Frank Ocean's sophomore album. For a few hours, because then the chess move is made, the domino falls. It was revealed within minutes after the release that Frank wasn't done yet. He actually had secretly negotiated another deal with Apple to release his next album for a rumored $20 million. And it wasn't going to take another 4 years, but like 18 hours? Blonde was released independently on Apple Music on August 20th, 2016, when #1 on Billboard's...
Yo, Positive, what is good, bro? Drop a link to the song. If you can, drop a link in the chat. Is that you can go in? Is that for sampling, or is that like for reviewing?
Selling 276,000 units and netting him over $1 million in its first week of release that went directly to him, while also completely stomping on the release of Def Jam and Universal's own Frank Ocean album. And what Frank had effectively done was show his peers that this is possible. You don't have to be a Chance the Rapper that never signed. You could be Frank Ocean. And as it was written in the history books...
How much can you tell me about the transformative Frank Ocean deal?
I would liken that to, like, you know, Ocean's 11.
Frank's moves ultimately opened a can of worms, with reports starting to leak out the weekend this all went down that Universal Music Group CEO Lucien Grange was losing his mind over this and immediately banned streaming exclusives.
You know what's funny? Lucien, right? Lucien, like Lucifer, right? Also, Lucifer was like the angel of music. It's interesting, right?
Forever. Because think about it, you guys are the ones who are supposed to get away with exploiting talent for your own personal gain, right? And now the kid who's saying a potato flew around is gonna pull the rug from under you? Yeah, they were furious. And I think they knew what was about to happen as a result, because everything was different now. A superstar that they in part helped create was now completely free and independent. It was like the spark of
We got a baby.
in YA fiction terms. The domino fell and everyone was now operating in a post-blonde music industry. So when talking about the release of Angie Martinez, A$AP Rocky said the record industry had been whipping artists ever since. And by the turn of the decade, Joe Budden implied to Charlemagne that the labels were trying to put the genie back in the bottle by banning exclusives after Frank, and that move was going to have even more impact in the decade to come. And Joe, as usual, couldn't have been more right. One of the people observing very carefully was actually the man part of it responsible, Larry Jackson, who in the last few months has been made out to be like this mysterious Wizard of Oz-esque figure that runs Gamma, and was in all those Drake conspiracy theories during the great rap beef of 2024. You know, the one with Drake and Kendrick Lamar.
I have an idea.
Sorry, guys. Ads.
You think I'm that much of a hack that anytime I bring up the rap beef, I'm gonna bring up... When are y'all gonna learn? But Larry Jackson's a veteran in the music industry. From his time at J Records or at Interscope, and eventually being brought into Apple to help develop Apple Music and run it, he actually was an integral piece to the puzzle of Frank Ocean's master plan. And he cites that moment as one that imbued him to know what he could do, which was to leave Apple Music and go raise over $1 billion in capital from companies like Apple, A24, Eldridge, to create Gamma, a media company that was made to compete with the major labels and act as a partner to artists. Artists own all their masters still, and Gamma was there to help in service to that music, whether it be marketing or distribution, because Larry Jackson had enough of
I've heard about Gamma
labels in regards to how they treated artists and talked about them behind closed doors. Gamma's made deals with not only new talent like Sexy Red and Four Bats, but also brought in artists like Snoop Dogg, Usher, Rick Ross, Willow, Jaden, Rich the Kid, and Gamma is just the start of all this. See companies like Kendrick Lamar and Dave Freeze, PG Lang, which has been described as a service company and not a label, but you know, acts in a similar way like Gamma does. And if you've noticed on any of the releases by Baby Keem or Kendrick Lamar since the launch of PG Lang, the music is being released under exclusive licensing deals with the major labels, like a Sony or Universal, and through their own LLC or PG Lang. It's little details like this that signify the massive switch in traditional music industry methods, as opposed to it being, you know, like an Interscope release or something. Because it used to be that you would go some...
Yeah, I feel like a lot is going to like grassroots type shit, even if it may be like huge, like Kendrick, you know, you can say he's yeah, like with PG Lang, I guess independent, whatever the fuck, I don't know, bro. All this shit is really ambiguous, but everything is definitely going back to that grassroots shit. And I think a lot of people are following the Griselda model, bro, like in a way. They're the Tech 9 model, right?
On as a new talent to a major label, and then if you were established, you would re-sign or find another label to go to, because you needed that machine behind you. So to keep the train moving.
Yeah, I'll look it up after this video. I love Trap Call Quest, bro. You know what I got? Fuck. Look what I got, bro. It's a single, though. You know what I mean? I got the single for Like It Like That, bro. One of the hardest beats ever. That's probably my favorite trap song right there. Like It Like That.
Moving, you needed to sign away things like your masters, because what were you gonna do? But it just wasn't.
No, yeah. I know. I'm gonna look up the Fuzz song. I never heard of them though, but I'm gonna definitely check that out after this.
because everyone saw what was possible. And even if they're cracking down on the artists they have left ever since, some of them had even more leverage now than Frank Ocean did, i.e. Drake, who in the years that followed had the industry at the edge of their seats waiting for his next move. As he was reaching the end of his Universal...
You know what's fucked up about Drake, bro, is like, the signs were all there that he was full of shit this whole time, bro. You know, this dude came up saying Fonte's his favorite rapper. When have we heard Fonte on a Drake album, bro? You know? Before he signed to Young Money, you know, a lot of people were like, oh, this dude's gonna be huge. Everyone knew Drake was gonna be big type shit, but to be where he was before he got signed, he could have changed everything back then. You know what I mean? Because he would have, his first album would have gone, whether he was with Cash Money or any other label or independent, you know. Nah, dude, he's a fucking little...
Cash Money deal that propelled him into superstardom. And if you don't think Drake was taking notes from Frank, I mean, subtlety's never really been his forte, has it?
He didn't really take pointers from Frank, you know what I mean? He's a fucking... He always wanted to be in the industry, you know what I mean? Drake's never fucked over any of the labels like Frank did. And he easily could have. He easily could have from the very beginning. He could have fucked over the whole industry, not signed nobody. He would have been the only independent rapper with a fucking Sprite commercial and all that shit. Yeah, bro.
So when it came time to make some big decisions, Drake opted to stay, but this time it would be much...
Opted to stay, see?
Bronze-sized deal was rumored to come in around $400 million. And not only included music, but visual projects, merch, touring.
Yeah, thank God he took that deal, too. Thank God he took that deal.
Glorified 360, some would say. But in reality, Universal Music Group was just bankrolling him now. And to top it all off, he owned whatever he was releasing. Because he was also now in a licensing agreement with Universal like Kendrick. Effectively working with Universal as a partner instead of their employee. And Taylor Swift, I mean, she was moving like a mafia boss when it came to setting up her new deal. Because not only did she gain ownership of her future masters, and not only was she able to get Universal to agree that any shares of Spotify stock that were sold needed to result in distribution to their artists regardless of any outstanding debts they owed to the label, but as she was leaving her old label Big Machine Records, who were in the midst of selling her masters to the highest bidder, Taylor essentially said, "Fuck you, I'll do it myself." Again, and her fans knew that the old versions were now illegitimate, thus driving down their value. The power dynamics were completely shifting, and the labels had to make deals in ways that they never...
That's kind of dumb to me, because it's like, I don't know why the originals would be devalued, you know what I mean? Because the originals are the ones that you kind of grew up listening to. They're the ones that made you a fan. I don't understand how re-recording them would devalue them. Like, right? I don't know. I feel like it's only with her that the old recordings are devalued. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Had to before, because the artists are now offering you a piece of the pie, and you don't get to decide how big of a slice you want anymore. And I mean, it's a pretty good pie, because in the streaming era, market share is everything. And when a streaming company values a 10-minute song of a faucet running the same way they value a Drake stream,
insane,
as many artists as you can, as well as
which they don't. That part I don't 100% agree with, because although like streaming rates might be the same, you know what I mean? There's something called like the black box, where like artists who put out music who maybe can't claim it or whatever, get the money for it. Like say, you know, all these there's 100 artists, they all got all these streams, whatever. 5 of the artists don't collect any of the money. The money from those 5 artists goes to like the biggest artists. So that money goes to Drake. That money goes to Taylor Swift. That money goes to whoever the fuck else, bro. I'm from Florida, Jacksonville.
The biggest artist still by your side means everything, because the streamers are paying the labels based on a market share model, which means if your artist accounted for 30% of the streams, you'll be paid 30% of that time period's revenue. And then you now as the label have to go divvy all that money out to everyone involved. So what do you do to retain market?
That's true. Well, I mean, he said it, so I'm assuming it's true, but what they're also doing, which I don't know if he'll say, I'm probably pausing too soon, so I'm sorry, but what he didn't say is that streaming services and distributors in 2025, if your song doesn't reach a certain amount of streams, you're not gonna get anything for it. You know what I mean? So there's like a threshold, a pay threshold to like, and it's from what I heard, right? This is from DJ Payne 1. He knows fucking everything. It's like if you don't get 15, if you release a song with 10, an album with 10 songs, each one has to hit 1,500, for example, streams to get paid for each one of those songs. So if you got one song on a 10-song album and only one of those songs does 1,500 streams or more, that's the only one you're getting paid for. As opposed to, you know, back in even earlier this year, you release an album, one song might do better than all the others, but you'll still get paid for everything. Even though it's fucking chump change and pretty pathetic, bro. Streaming sucks, dude. I'm not even gonna lie, because yeah, I got like 500,000 streams like across all platforms and across like hundreds of songs that I produce for people, and it's the earnings from that isn't even close to like what I earned from sales on Bandcamp, and the amount of plays I got on Bandcamp is like 1/100th of it, you know what I mean, of the plays and streams that I get on like Spotify and all that shit.
Share post Frank Ocean, become a bank for these people, give them whatever the hell they want, and also maybe explore the idea of consolidation, which, you know, if you've been paying attention, this all seems a little funny, right? But this isn't even the half of it, because the industry we once knew was now dead and the dawn of a new one was upon us. And in order to never allow what had just happened to happen again in a different font, they found a way to dilute the art as much as they could.
I love this song.
This year has been weird, to say the least. Not just for things that happen.
DHL is such an awesome song, bro.
Have just been odd. Like, why are 5 of the biggest?
But I said all that just to say that, like, you know, artists kind of, I feel like a lot of independent artists kind of looked at streaming in a way where like that's all they would need to like do anything. You know what I mean? All we got to do is put music on streaming and just promote it and we'll be good. You know what I mean? In my opinion, streaming should really only be there to serve as like a commercial for your music, so people can buy your music digitally, physically, so they can buy your merch, you know what I mean? So they can get into what you're doing, you know? Because yeah, like even like the biggest, hugest artists, like the video we just finished watching, the dude's got like he's got like a billboard plaque, bro, you know. And I guarantee you, after a year, dude will probably earn like way more just off YouTube videos than he did off that billboard plaque, you know. And that's just assuming, though, you know what I mean? But I feel like that's a educated assumption, because streams really don't pay shit, bro.
Artists just randomly dropping singles on Instagram.
Oh, that's another thing with the Instagram drops. I feel like Meta, Facebook, Instagram are gonna put together their own streaming platform eventually, and yeah, this is like the new exclusive drop, you know what I mean? And it's also like a big move from the artist, because it's like, you know, we're not even gonna put this shit on. I guess one of the songs made it on the streaming, the J. Cole song or whatever, but you know, they're kind of bypassing all that shit and showing their, showing their own worth and showing their value.
Why is Drake, who sent cease and desist letters to the creator of that fan-made AI collaboration between The Weeknd and him, now posting diss songs with AI features from Snoop and Pac? Why is Spotify, after a decade and a half, now changing the streaming thresholds to monetize? Why is the market for music publishing booming?
Oh, nice. Carver Ranches. Yeah, that's what's up, bro. Yeah, Florida's pretty chill, bro.
Right now, with all the labels and private equity firms trying to get their hands on it. Why is a label like Rock Nation offering direct-to-consumer distribution? Because I've been paying attention to the entertainment industry from
direct-to-consumer. Sell your shit, dude.
Most of my life at this point, and what I've learned is that nothing is ever really random. A W actually isn't just a W. There's usually
if you make a hit, you can pretty much get money, right? Yeah, you can, bro. But you can, but also no. You know what I'm saying? Because even if you look at the dudes who make the hits, who have hits, who've got hits for decades, Timbaland is getting into streaming and all these other little scams he's got going on. Even dudes on that level, you know what I mean? There's other dudes like Pharrell, you know what I mean? But even him, bro, he's doing other shit, you know? So yeah, the hit can make you some money and shit, I guess. But yeah, bro, I mean, just you got to look at what the guys are doing, you know what I mean? Not what they're saying. Like even like the internet money guys, you know what I mean? They're all fucking pushing their YouTube and Twitch and all that shit, you know what I mean? Because I mean, this is just an assumption, but for them, that's where the money's really at, you know what I mean? Just an assumption though.
Usually something.
An assumption based off their moves, you know what I mean? What they're actually doing and not what they're saying, you know?
Else going on. I don't know why I chose W. And what actually drove me in the direction of picking up the pieces of Blonde's impact was thanks to one of my favorite voices in the music space, Curtis King, who in his video covering my video, The Messy Rebrand of Post Malone.
I'm doing the the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's on the couch, you know?
Response to a point I made about the lack of new male superstars in popular music, saying that he thinks it was completely intentional so that no one can ever become bigger than the company again. And in doing that,
I agree with that 100%.
Superstar, but create templates and whatnot of different kinds of artists that can fill certain roles. Because why rely on 3 or 4 artists to guarantee your next meal? Why not just even out the playing field now so that no one rules supreme? And that's why I think putting everything we talked about so far in the rear view of this much larger conversation actually makes perfect sense, because look at what happened. Which leads me to today. In a fascinating interview Lucian arranged into the beginning of 2024 addressing the rise in artificial intelligence, it put a lot of what we're talking about into perspective, especially this quote. I haven't spent 45 years in the music industry for it to become a free-for-all. And from what I'm now gathering, Lucian's preparing to rule the industry hand in hand with the big tech companies in order to restore what he feels is order. And the first order of business...
Labels already own Spotify. You know, they're investors in Spotify and all that shit. They already own it, you know? So it's been happening. It's been a thing.
Is to show the power you still hold.
Starting from zero in JavaScript can be harsh. Zero experience, zero clue, zero frameworks to rely on, $0 to pay for WebStorm's subscription.
That's what I like. See, I always tell a lot of my music friends, you got to bring something back that nobody brought back and have it real live on a positive tip. But yeah, if I know what you're saying, then I kind of agree. Yeah. But I don't think I fully know what you mean. Explain what you mean by that.
In August of 2024, Universal Music Group and Meta renewed a continued partnership between the two companies. One meant to evolve creative and commercial opportunities across Meta platforms, which include Facebook, Instagram, Horizon, and WhatsApp. Threads. With the ensuring of financial compensation for artists and songwriters, protections against unauthorized AI, and an expansion of monetization opportunities for UMG, which immediately stood out to me as, oh, this is why they're all dropping on Instagram. And this assumption of mine has now been reported by industry insiders like Demiza, as well as famous investor Ian Dunlap, who, while guessing...
That's funny, I literally just said that.
On the Joe Budden podcast.
Kind of something. Not as in-depth as our brother here, but yeah, definitely said something like that.
Podcast revealed that he's heard that Mark Zuckerberg and Meta are looking to dominate the music industry, and that there's a war to do so between Zuck, Tim Cook of Apple, and Daniel Ek of Spotify. Because, I mean, think about it. Instead of relying on a mysterious foreign company and their algorithm to feed snippets of new music to audiences, might I add a company that we also just had a very messy and public dispute with this year. Let's just go direct to consumer on Instagram. We're already arguing in the comment sections and group chats. Let's just directly meet the audience. And at the same time, cut out the guys who screwed us in the past. Whether that be a recent frenemy like TikTok, or the other one that showed artists how much power they hold over us. And a very obvious benefit, you're now in bed with the people who control the algorithm. Which, you know...
Hey, is it me, or were those stairs Frank Ocean was building like a little too high to step up on, right?
If you're on the artist end of this looks good if you're going to align yourself with a major label. You can now have your artist prioritized, or else on the other side of that, deprioritize anyone that steps out of line. So if you start to train the audiences and dropping directly to them on the social media platforms that they practically live on, you can eventually just wean them off the streaming services, especially when the DSPs are about to be flooded more than ever. Because music isn't music to these companies anymore. It's, and I hate this word, content. And the industry's ready to refer to music as sounds and not songs anymore. Because if you didn't know, these social platforms don't pay artists based on views or listens. They're paying you based on the amount of engagement you generate from it. Meaning how many times it's used in things like user-generated content, which feels so fucking dystopian and depressing. Because, you know, like, what's going to happen to the idea of an album? Or just, you know, the traditional music experience? Because for how enraged Lucien Grange is over the market share model of streaming royalties, he has no issue with his banner stars being looked at the same way as whatever the fuck this is. To put it as simply as someone in the music industry did for me, what Instagram did to photography is what AI is about to do to the music industry. It's becoming completely democratized, and anyone will be able to make a professional sounding song with or without a DAW, skill, or even talent. It's all about to become even more user-friendly and available than ever before. And we're going to be swimming in an unfathomable amount of music. And while there's a lot to be argued about whether or not this breaks down barriers for people who have these grand ideas but don't have the means to execute, the suits are doing whatever they can with whatever power they have left to create a business model with this where they're still going to come out on top and not only embrace the tech, but figure out a way to still act as gatekeepers in an age of content oversupply, as Lucien frames it. Spotify CEO Daniel Ek recently announced that they'd be putting in place a 1,000 play within 12-month threshold in order for monetization to go into effect, as well as extra measures to crack down.
1,000 plays. So you need 1,000.
Labels and Spotify do it, allegedly, whatever. But when some Joe Schmo makes an
Yeah, you're gonna need 1,000 plays on your songs, right?
AI band, and you have to pay out millions of dollars of royalties to him off fake streams, rules need to be put in place. Universal and the AI company Sound Labs have entered a strategic partnership with each other, allowing artists to access voice cloning models, which makes you start to think about a certain Universal music group cash cow that publicly put AI in the spotlight this year. And Alphabet, the company behind YouTube and Google, have been hard at work.
Yeah, I found that kind of funny when Drake did the Tupac and Snoop Dogg AI, because it's like, you know, not even like, yeah, like last year, you know, someone made that fake Weekend Metro Drake song. Everybody went crazy, bro. Everybody was, not everybody, but I'm sure the labels were like losing their shit over that, bro. But it's cool when Drake does it, you know.
With the labels in the development and stewarding of Google DeepMind's Lyria, a generative AI music model that serves as the basis of the new YouTube feature Dream Track, which will allow users to generate AI songs to soundtrack their long or short form content, and even the ability to take your favorite artist's vocals and create songs with them. And before you say, oh well, no one's ever going to allow it to happen, what artist is going to be cool with that? YouTube hosted an incubator with all the labels and a bunch of artists, songwriters, and producers back in 2023, where they got to use the tech and see what it's all about, while also giving feedback and helping guide the ship on where it all goes next. Some of them were Charlie Puth, Papoose, Ryan Tedder of One Republic, the Frank Sinatra Estate, John Legend, Demi Lovato, Alec Benjamin, Louis Bell, and this next one might send a few of you in the cardiac arrest because I know people go crazy when anybody just acknowledges AI, but Charlie XCX and Troye Sivan. AI is brat. But translation, the labels are trying to figure out how they're going to make money on AI and exploit whatever they have so they'll be able to be paid until the end of time, with or without superstars. And from what I've heard through the grapevine, this was the major point of contention when UMG was renegotiating their licensing deal with TikTok this year. It barely had anything to do with the legitimate fair compensation of artists. Fuck out of here. So with the embracement of something like this, and the talk of no superstars popping up like they used to, and real artist development becoming a rarity, this is the perfect moment to make no one stand out like they used to, and just have clones that fill certain archetypes of what once was. That video I did on the music industry's nostalgia starts to play back in your head a little bit, doesn't it? And y'all who were in the comments yelling at me saying things like, samples have always been a thing. You're reaching. You're overreacted. Shut up, loser. Maybe you see what's happening now. It's almost like they've been conditioning you to crave the old for years, so that you can just pop in a prompt that generates Sexy Red's cover of Billy Joel's Uptown Girl, because they're going to get paid for it. And if something's hot, we can just attach ourselves with a lucrative distribution deal and plaster you all over Instagram or WhatsApp or Facebook for all the grandparents out there. But
yo, Jelly Roll is so cringe, bro.
There's a lot of insiders predicting that we're a year or so away from the major labels launching their own direct-to-consumer models like a United Masters or a DistroKid. I mean, Rock Nation's already there. The labels are gonna label one way or another. And for anyone who thinks Frank Ocean acted out of his own self-interest and didn't think about the consequences of his actions, you couldn't be
Biking. I love that song too. Jay-Z and Tyler. Whoa.
more right, because that's what makes him the hero of this story and for all the artists out there. Frank Ocean showed the artists that the power was always in their hands. Frank Ocean showed that the business needed to be dismantled, and Frank Ocean got the labels to act like the wolves they always were, because sheep's clothing was so 2000. And no matter what happens next, the labels will do whatever they can to stab the artists in the back before they can beat them to it, because a message was received in 2016, and that's good music always wins. And I think a lot of people in the industry noticed that. And in retrospect, the formation of PG Lang and Gamma feel like informed reactions of what they saw was coming in the next few years. And that the real town out there eventually would need support and new homes. All while the legacy labels run into a new haunted house full of AI-generated monsters. And it's all because some guy in Brooklyn wanted to build them a staircase.
Yeah, that's cool.